Let's hear you, San Ramon.
Yeah.
Come on.
Let's go.
This pizza.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Let's go. Red and Gold Summit, Fieldwork Brewing Company, 95.7 The Game. All the shows, Bonta and Joe and Steiny and Goo and Willard and Dibs, and most importantly, all of you. Thank you again for being here. Thank you to those of you who are listening on your way. By the way, we have some special thank yous, some supportive corporate partners out there that we want to say hello to. Sergeant Randy White from Oakland Police Department is here.
Yeah. Where you at?
Thank you, Sergeant. Thank you very much. Rashmi Vinod Kashyap from QC Kinetics.
Let's go.
Where you guys at? Thank you very much for being here. Nubio from East Bay Law Practice.
Let's go.
Hello and thank you. Thank you. And LaTanya Lawson from Celebrity Cruises.
There you go.
Thank you for being here. Absolutely.
Willard, have you tried the pizza here yet?
Fantastic.
Have you tried the pizza?
Yes.
We got so many guys
It's
on
really
the soda
good.
diet now. None of them are eating
I know.
pizza.
I'll take the leftovers.
Too many cameras, Joe.
I'll take the leftovers.
Bonta, oh,
We got a lot
boy.
of celebs here.
Oh, baby.
Doc Pandia. Doc
Pandia.
Doc Pandia over there on the side.
Scooter Berry in the house.
Scooter Berry, yeah.
Phil Mike. What about Phil Mike?
David Chang, Xavier on YouTube.
Hey, where's my guy Dave at? There he is.
Silvo Mike's dressed like a Christmas tree.
I caught
He's got the Don Green on.
He's dressed like an OG.
Yeah,
Look at the dot.
What's up,
What up, Unc?
I asked Doc Pandy, I said, if Shohei was worth 600, what's he worth now? He said 300.
He might be right.
You know what? Doc Pandia. Tax still 500.
There's also this. Keep it $50. This $50 bill will be carried around by someone in this group all football season long, except for Steiny. Because
what's that mean?
It is directed at you from Grandpa Daddy, one of our good listeners.
Yeah.
He has said that this $50 is attached to the 49ers making the Super Bowl. Not winning it, but making it.
Okay.
Brock Purdy has to stay healthy for the season.
Oh, boy.
And if he does, and the 49ers make the Super Bowl, he actually would like to just donate this $50 to the station. I don't know if we've got just like a little fishbowl. But if the Niners don't make the Super Bowl, you get this $50 bill, Steiny.
So, in other words, I'm not out 50 no matter what.
No, you don't have to worry. But
I
like it.
But you can root against the Niners, which we know you want to do anyway.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Mavericks in 5.
I've been partial. Hey, by the way, let me just throw this one out there for you. Here's when you were talking
Normally
about.
Mark leads the way, but go ahead.
Go ahead, Steiny.
Go ahead,
no,
Steiny.
we're good.
We've got 4
He's a
chairs.
point guard, yeah.
Of sorts.
So we're talking about Kyle Shanahan and the quarterback position, and it's his 7th year. Now I get it; it's not that long, but the older people here, you remember Don Nelson?
Yes.
Remember Don Nelson? So Don Nelson was a Hall of Fame coach. Great, he's a genius. We all acknowledge that. For his entire career, he was looking for this big guy, and back then, big guys were important, similar to the quarterback position. And he was in Milwaukee, and he had Bob Lanier, but Bob Lanier was a little later in his career. Then he tried to draft Alton Lister, but he got Chris Webber. But he clashed with Chris Webber.
Steiny, bring it home.
By the time he got to New York, Patrick Ewing. I'm starting to think that we're at the point with Kyle Shanahan. When is he going to find the right quarterback that he likes? Because he's got a built-in excuse, in a way, with all of them to have gotten to this point. Will he ever find that right guy?
I think it's a really fair question, and I like the analogy. But, I mean, John Madden waited 9 years to finally get over the hump. And we look at John Madden like a legend. I know the eras are different. The money is nuclear at this point.
He had his quarterback, though.
Yes, he did. But they kept losing to the same handful of teams over and over. And then I look at someone like Andy Reid, had a quarterback. He was wildly successful in Philadelphia. Had a different quarterback once he got to Kansas City and ended up being Alex Smith. And then finally got his guy. Do we look lesser of Andy Reid now, years later?
But Philadelphia fans could give a rat's behind about those Super Bowls in Kansas City. They still got that heartbreak of 100 NFC championships and 1 Super Bowl.
It's true.
Well, and to that point, I think a lot of times, this is a more familiar story than we realize. you think you've got your guy. A city thinks you've got your guy. And then you look back at it and go, actually, turns out that wasn't the guy.
Carson Wentz.
I mean, how many NFL quarterbacks right now are you like, there are no questions, get out the way?
Mahomes.
There's about 8.
Yeah.
I said 8.
I don't even think it's 8.
I got
Mahomes,
5.
Well, I threw in
Mahomes,
Justin
Burrow,
Herbert and Lamar
Allen.
Jackson.
Even
and,
Herbert, I have some. He hasn't won a playoff game,
Right,
man. Right?
right.
I understand being somewhat cautious, but he looks the part.
Herbert is like McNabb was. We got our guy.
Yeah.
Unless 8 years from now you're like, actually, that wasn't the guy.
Well, yeah, you're up 100
right?
points
But the
in the
Cousins
playoffs.
and the Daks and the Carrs
over.
and the
Yeah.
Kylers, you think that's the guy, and it's not the guy. So I do think you have to put that lens through it. This is not an excuse for Kyle finding the quarterback, but let's not act like it's easy.
No.
I mean, the Bears have been looking my whole
No,
life, and I'm turning 50 in a couple of years.
And I'm going to channel my
10,
inner
right?
Mark Willard, and I mean this because I told my partner just driving him crazy. I can have perspective. I love that word. I can criticize Kyle, but I cannot ignore the fact that Brock Purdy looks like he's the effing real deal. It ain't about how far you can throw it. It's the Wi-Fi, the quick reads. He looks like he's about to be the dude, man. You can't ignore that.
That's true.
And it makes this
That's
season
true.
fascinating, but he's running, even in the preseason game. Boop, boop, boop. Boop, boop. I know where to go with it. I'm just like, okay.
Well, what's the most important skill in a Shanahan offense? It's
Brain.
knowing what to do. It's the brain,
Yeah.
and it's where's Debo, Christian, Brandon, and George.
Oh my
Get them
gosh.
the ball. Get the right guy the ball
Man.
at the right time, in the right place, and that's where we talked to the guy who founded S2 Cognition and all of the ethereal, the intangible stuff that he does so well. Trey does it well too, but Trey Lance got robbed due to injury, and then Brock came in and was able to do it just as well. So no shade on Trey. If Brock can continue to do what he's done in terms of all those things, the intangibles, he's going to be fine.
All right, audience, jump in on this one again because we're very, very curious on where you're at on this with regard to Nick Bosa. We all admit we have no idea where the negotiations are. We don't know what's being offered, what's being demanded. But straw poll right now, if you've got to pick one side that you currently sit on, which would it be? Are you on the side of Nick Bosa? Nick Bosa's side? Or are you on the 49ers side?
Wow.
Okay.
Pay him. Pay that man his money.
What if you try to get
Why do we have to pick sides, though?
Ooh.
We don't know who's doing what. We don't know what the money is. We
I'm
don't know
with
what
you.
the years are. So I think it's unfair to say whether the team Niners or Team Bosa. Our team just get the deal done and get them in Pittsburgh September the 10th against the Steelers.
Do you know, like,
That's all I care about.
I'm totally
I
with you, but
color
you
is that
guys,
jersey?
the two of you have had a bunch of debates about this week, and I think the reason fans and Dibs, I know you're on this side too. The reason people lean Bosa without knowing the info is they're actually just assessing who's got more leverage here. And this is one of the very rare cases where I actually think the player's got a little bit more leverage than the team.
Does.
What do you think, Joe?
Well, when you draft a guy number 2 overall, you pray to God he's half as good as Nick Bosa.
Yep.
He's been all world. Look, he had the one injury, but 4 guys went down in a 2-week span on that same turf with the same injury, which is crazy. And that you can't unsee the injury, but he's been all world almost every single game that he's been able to play in. So you should have known this was coming. Now, I understand there's a new market that needs to be set at every position every single year. I give the Niners the benefit of the doubt that they've earned in terms of signing all the guys that they like. I'm just like, yo, we got 12 days to go. This is supposed to be a Super Bowl team. So I am a little worried. And I don't even know if you can blame anyone. Both sides are like, yeah, we deserve this. Well, we think you're here. There's a threshold, but I just want it done.
Well, as Lynch said it, again, we go back to the first day of training camp, or actually the day before the first day of training camp, when Lynch said, this is going to be complicated. And that kind of lit a light bulb in my head saying, oh boy, it's not only the guaranteed money, it's not only the years, there could be no trade clauses, there could be workout bonuses, who the heck knows? This is going to be a massive, massive deal. So I think, no, the Niners, they know they have to overpay for Bosa. And for Bosa, I give him all the credit in the world. He may tear another ACL. He's got to get his money. Not for long, right? That's what the NFL stands for. I'm all for a player getting every single penny.
I know a lot of you guys gamble. I don't gamble, but they said there's about 4 or 5 defensive players that can actually move the line if they're not available, and Bosa's one of them. Do you make anything of that?
Absolutely. I mean, look, I think it's as simple as they are not the Super Bowl favorite with him, and I don't even think they're much of a contender for the Super Bowl without him.
Even though they had a number 1 defense or a top 10 defense without him that 1 year?
Yeah. I think he's the straw that stirs the whole drink. He's the one that makes all the other players on the defense better, and that's the leverage he's playing with. He knows that he's got it in the lineup next Sunday.
Mark, what if he's trying to get quarterback money? Because to me, I thought it was about Aaron Donald. I think they were like, okay, you got that. What if he's trying to get quarterback money?
Give me that number.
40.
What's that number?
40.
He's not getting 40.
Then the Niners are right.
I threw out 35.
You can't do that.
Where do you 35 is too much?
No, I think 35 is what they give him. Give him 35.
35's a lot.
I
know I sound like a penny
Dude, this man over there at table 11 has a DPOY shirt because he was that. He's the best defensive player on the team.
But
it's the best defensive team.
35 gets me the top cornerback, the top D tackle, and something else in free agency, just to give you the play devil's advocate.
He's the best defensive player in football, and I think that if you're going to like nickel and dime him for 31.75 or whatever, just give the man whatever he needs.
But that's not nickel diming. Like I'll say this, it's not even a disagreement with your point. It's that there is not a lot of precedent for that. Even when you're the best in the game, you don't obliterate the market by 20% above the next best player in the league. Like it just doesn't. You don't do that. So I'm not even saying whether they should, shouldn't, or otherwise. If Nick is demanding that number, 35, then Nick's wrong.
Wow.
Well, I think that's got to be the issue, because if you tell him we'll pay you $1 million more than Aaron Donald,
let's go.
I don't think there's an issue. But clearly he's got to be asking for more than that.
Can we all agree?
Right?
The Niners aren't being cheap on this.
No.
Like, we can all agree there.
What makes you say that?
Rap sheet said the offer is, quote, substantial.
Yeah.
He's going to get paid. It's just a matter of how much.
Exactly. Right. I don't doubt that they're not in the ball. They're not like, we have you at $20 million a year. Like, no, they're not doing that.
Of course. But if you're going to pay Bosa, you're going to pay him knowing full well that he makes everyone else better. Eric Armstead does not have a rejuvenated career without Nick Bosa. And if you want to be a nasty defense, a defense that's good enough to have a nickname, and we talked about this yesterday, you want to be a good enough defense to where you have a nickname, Legion of Boom and Steel Curtain and whatever else you want to, Purple People Eaters, whatever you want to talk about in terms of nicknames, all that, you need to have this anchor piece in there. So give the man his money.
Well, we want to say thanks to the Los Altos Village Association, our sponsor. Stroll through beautiful downtown Los Altos while you enjoy craft beer and live music at the Downtown Beer Stroll, Friday, September 8th, 6 p.m. Sponsored by Los Altos Hardware and State of Mind Public House and Pizzeria. Tickets and info at downtownlosaltos.org. A reminder that you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. All right, we're going to go through to each of the 6 of us, but the crowd first.
Oh.
Here's a fun question.
Okay.
And the question is, and I'll give you all the candidates before we do a round of applause to show where you're at. But if the Niners are to go to or win a Super Bowl, assuming everyone is healthy, who is the most important player for them on the team this year? Here are your candidates: Brock Purdy, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, Nick Bosa, George Kittle, Fred Warner. So pick one, and let's go for...
That's what I'm saying.
There you go. Let's go for, by a show of applause, is the most important player Brock Purdy?
Wow. Wow.
Is the most important player Deebo Samuel? How about Christian McCaffrey?
Okay. Whoa. Wow.
Nick
The
Bosa.
Indian voice. Wow.
George Kittle. We love you, George.
How about Claire Kittle?
Shout out to the Zenny sunglasses. Good job,
Thank you.
Dibs.
Appreciate it.
Fred Warner. Fred Warner.
Kurt Warner.
That felt like McCaffrey 1,
Yeah.
Purdy 2,
Yeah.
Bosa 3, Debo 4, Kittle 5, Warner 6.
I'd say Trent Williams 4.
Okay.
I
like
mean,
that.
I heard a certain Trent Williams coming up in the front row.
Shout out to the
I've
lovely.
told you all along, and I firmly believe this, and I'll say it in front of Fieldwork and all you here. The quarterback on this team is not as important as it is on other teams because of all those other names you mentioned. You could go to Sam Darnold, and you could do just as well. They went to the NFC Championship game last year with QB3. And I think that tells you all you need to know about how important the quarterback is. So for me, it's McCaffrey 1, it's Trent Williams 2, Bosa 3, and then Fred Warner would be 4.
Bonta, you've been too quiet. What do you think?
Oh, I'm letting you talk.
No, I can tell you're ready to get in here.
Well, everyone's going to get their piece of pizza on this one.
I'm ready to wish offense 3 yards in a cloud of dust. We're going to clock off the time. Listen.
No, who's the most important player
Chris
for them?
Chris McCaffrey.
Okay, why?
He sets it. As much as we just talked about Bosa making the game easier for everybody, think about Chris McCaffrey. And I always cite Chelsea. I cite this one play against the Rams. He goes out in the flat, 53, and another linebacker from the Rams. Oh my God, there's Chris McCaffrey. George Kittle walking up to see him by himself, wide open. He spaces the field for everybody. Everybody gets to see one-on-one covers because of Chris McCaffrey. And the defense, you got to decide: do you want to play 8 in the box? Do you want to play 7? How do you want to play this? Because you have a weapon like Christian McCaffrey. So he makes this offense go. He takes it to the next level. That's my most important player for
Bonta's
2023.
breakdown.
Steiny, what do you think? Most important player?
Love it.
I think it's Nick Bosa, because I think he's the one guy that if you take off this team, then they can't win it.
Well, he was there last year and they didn't win it.
What's that?
He was there last year and they didn't win it.
Well, I know. He's no guarantee that they will win it. I'm saying they cannot win it without him. And here's what I would put into the equation for that. I'll give everybody who says that Kyle Shanahan's an offensive genius and he can win with a wide variety of quarterbacks. For this particular argument, I'll give you that. Maybe they could win without Purdy. Maybe they could win without Kittle. Maybe they could win without McCaffrey. They cannot win without Bosa. No chance, I don't think.
Goo, what do you think?
I got to change it on the fly because
No.
New information.
Not
You're
Guru.
not trying to.
No. You didn't change your
I'm gonna
take.
shock you. Every offensive player not named Brock Purdy you mentioned, the byproduct, the point guard, the John Stockton is Brock Purdy. So to me, it's Brock 1.
Okay.
They went to the Super Bowl and almost won pre-McCaffrey. So as much as I love McCaffrey and it's good right now, he's a baller, you got Mitchell, you got Mason. We've seen you get to the Super Bowl without McCaffrey, and 3 would be just what Steiny said, Bosa.
Okay.
Because you went and got Hargrave, but if no the only time that is impactful is if you got Bosa. So that would be my 3. But Purdy is everything.
Shasky, what do you think?
I want to take Fred Warner just because I feel like we sleep on how great he is and what he does for this team. I mean, he's covering people in the flat. He's covering tight ends. He's blitzing. Not that these other guys, they're all great. But, Fred Warner's outstanding. I don't know. I don't know if people realize how good he is. I do not think this is I think you could find a way to be a good defense without Bosa. I don't think you could be a good defense without Fred Warner. I think if you put a rookie there, oh, my God.
The way I'm looking at it is, what player would you least like to hear is going to miss the season?
I think it might be Fred
before
Warner.
the season.
It might be Fred.
It might be. I don't know.
Fred
But that's the way I
hasn't
look.
missed a game.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
He hasn't missed a game in 5 years. So, we used to talk about Patrick Willis and Bowman that way. If you said, Willis is going to be out for 6 or 7 weeks, everybody's like, oh, my God, we're done.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think we give Warner enough love. I know that's probably not the right answer,
Well,
but he deserves appreciation.
Tucked into this conversation is how incredible the roster is. That, for instance, Trent Williams can't even make the list of the top 6, and he's the best left tackle in the game. But, Goo, my answer is more, it's not even about belief in Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
We're sitting here talking about Nick Bosa's contract, right? And we think it's going to be 31 or 32
40
or 35.
Right.
What does a great quarterback make? They make 53.
Right.
And that simply tells you how important that position is. I don't buy that Sam Darnold can just walk in and do what Brock Purdy did last year. I think we're forgetting that even though Jimmy Garoppolo was in a Super Bowl before and was on a tidy little run last year, we're forgetting how much this team elevated from Jimmy Garoppolo when Brock Purdy walked in last year. I'm not saying he's the best at his position like many of these other names are, but you're right. Debo and Christian and Brandon and all these people, George, they don't get the ball if Brock doesn't get it to them on time. You can't have Yak if you don't get the ball in the right spot at the right time. For me, the quarterback is almost always the most important player on the team.
And I'm gonna steal a line from the great Beyonce. I am drunk and crazy in love with this Niner offense, and I'm gonna give Bonta some credit. I'm in Las Vegas. We're in Vegas last weekend.
Were you drunk and crazy
Bonta
there?
sends a tweet out, and just think, this Niner team had Roger Craig, Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, and he said this Niner offense currently is lethal, and I feel that. And I'm just saying the Niners have lost some depth on the defensive line. They got a question at the nickel corner spot. My point is, I don't think this D has to be as great as it had to be in the past, because this offense is Ferrari-like. Like, until I see it slow, like, get stopped, how good does the D really have to be? That's the right on the table. Shout out Atco.
The Raider game on New Year's Day, the defense was bad.
Yeah, but the Dallas game in the playoffs, which playoff games are way tougher.
No doubt.
That defense was ferocious.
No
They
doubt.
knocked out Dak 2 times the ball. He threw terrible interceptions. They took out Tony Pollard. Like, the defense, not that Brock didn't make plays. He did late in that game. That defense held down a great Dallas team.
They're the best,
That team was really good.